Welcome to another episode of the Flow Protocols. This one is a little bit different. I am bringing on, I would say, like an old-time friend. We've known each other for a long time now, probably like 7, 8 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And we both started off in the Facebook advertising space, in marketing, advertising, where a lot of people listening also have encountered me or know me from. And we've kind of taken a very similar journey towards conversations, or I would say deeper conversations around well-being. And so I wanted to introduce you guys to my friend and fellow peer in the industry, Ben Malol, who is currently based in the beautiful land of Thailand. And from my understanding, although you can clarify this a little bit more, you are presently hosting and holding men's circles, assisting men to, well, I'll let you explain. What are you
Hmm.
working on right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, first of all, Kat, for having me. It's been a long time since we saw each other.
Yeah.
Um, in a nutshell, I do many things, and it kind of shifts and changes depending on like the vibe that I'm in and the phase. But I would say the overall theme of what I've been doing in the past couple of years and where I'm going in the next years is helping people connect more to themselves, connecting more to their truth, to their integrity. In that, I do medicine ceremonies using different types of medicines. I do men's circles. I help people with emotional work. I sell online education, helping people with emotional work, releasing trauma, releasing wounds, healing wounds in your child, self-love. And my transition, and this is what I'm kind of, I feel like I want to focus on, is to mostly help high achievers and entrepreneurs heal wounds when it comes to success, to money, or to in general stopping the shifting the perspective of achieving something from a place of ego and a place of like a wound or a pain, and achieving something more from a place of like love and creativity and play.
Mm.
So yeah, I would say that's kind of in a nutshell what I'm doing today, like jumping between like the wellness, spirituality, and kind of business worlds with a lot of focus on entrepreneurs and men.
Very similar to the pivot that I took as well. And so
Mhm.
you were doing Facebook ads and marketing circa 2000. When did you start that scene, by the way?
I would say somewhere around like 2015, I would say up to 2020
Yeah,
in that
2015, the days when you could retarget an audience of 20 people.
days where you would run a $5 ad and it would be like a 10 ROAS.
Yeah, 5 cent cost per click.
Yeah,
My day, 10 years ago.
yeah,
So you were doing the Facebook marketing scene and you were quite successful. And I think you're still dabbling in that. You still have some energy in that space as well. So, but what was kind of like the turning point, or when did you realize that you wanted to start having these kinds of conversations?
Well, I went through a very major like mental breakdown or spiritual awakening, if you want to use the psychological label or like the spiritual label, where I I guess I pushed myself to a limit that my body and my spirit could no longer hold. So I was continuing to chase something that was in a way an illusion or imaginary, and I would use different methods to kind of chase that, even though my body was lacking energy. So I would have used, let's say, Adderall or like coffee or like
Caffeine,
nicotine.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
just to continue pushing myself to keep an image that I thought I needed to maintain or a goal that I thought I needed to continue to achieve.
Hmm.
And in a way, I just pushed my body to a specific limit where the emotions or the wounds that I pushed down to achieve success kind of started to almost like a volcano bubble up, bubble up, bubble up until like I would say around COVID, I just completely collapsed. My nervous system collapsed emotionally, like identity, like everything just like kind of like fell apart. And it was kind of bubbling up, like even when we met at Baby Bathwater the last time. I don't remember exactly what year that was. Maybe that was like 2019 or something, or end of
Hmm.
2018, where I was already kind of in a very, very bad mental state. But I wasn't, I was completely like ignorant emotionally or spiritually to what was going on. And that's when I started having like anxiety and panic attacks and depression. And then by 2020, it just got like really, really bad. And I just I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I kind of collapsed like emotionally, mentally. And I just decided that first of all, I need to like shut down all of my businesses and everything. I lost like a lot of money, like close to $1 million. I was almost broke at that point because of everything that I made. I kind of like just made really, really stupid financial decisions. So the financial stress, all the employees, my business partner, rent, like all of this life that I kind of build upon, I just got to a point where I had to like let go of everything and kind of go back home to Israel to kind of just get back to some level of safety.
Mm-hmm.
So around COVID time, like beginning of 2020, I just like overnight closed the business, fired everyone, and told my business partner, look, I need like help. I'm going back to my mom in Israel and I'll figure out what to do from there. So then I went to Israel, and then from there I just started to work on myself. And it was like a few years of a very deep dark night of the soul, which through that I started to heal a lot, do a lot of inner work, understand more. And then from there, I would say a lot of these things started to come up.
Mm-hmm. Super, super similar timeline to what I went through because I walked away from everything in 2020. And so when we were hanging out at Baby Bathwater, which is a mastermind retreat, if you will, for high-level entrepreneurs, we would have both been depressed. But
Most
did
likely,
we
yeah.
did we even talk about that to each other?
No, we
No.
didn't. I don't remember. Yeah,
Yeah, I was definitely covert about it up until 2020. No one really knew. And so for you, it sounds like it was like a lot of overwhelm. Is that right?
yeah. I was out of overwhelm. It was out of overwhelm. For me, depression is usually like, and again, depression is many things, but depression is usually like a byproduct of like a lot of suppression and like a byproduct sometimes of overwhelm. So after the overwhelm, I was depressed for a few years.
Hmm.
But at that time, I was just like, there was a lot. I was experiencing a lot. There was overwhelm, there was apathy, there was like confusion, like there was just like this very dark phase of like
Hmm.
I can't even put like a label on it, just like a very spiritually dark phase where it would be combined with like apathy, sadness, grief, anxiety, insomnia, like
Yeah,
obsessive thoughts.
everything. It's like a domino
Almost,
effect of all the
yeah,
emotions.
yeah. There was something demonic about it as well. Like there was almost like something like evil kind of. It felt like
Hmm.
scary. There was like some almost like negative
End your
energy.
life, take your life, do it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. There's like a lot
this
of
bridge
these.
right
Yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, like nothing makes sense. Everything is like nothing.
Yeah,
There's no meaning. Like very a lot of dissociations and like derealizations, kind of.
right. So when you left for Israel, did that resolve itself immediately, or was there quite a long?
No, so when I, um,
Because this is what I experienced is like I thought if I close my business down and walk away, so I had a mental breakdown, as you know, very similar to you.
yeah, yeah,
I was like, I'll walk away from this and the depression will go away. And then I discovered on the back of that, fuck, this thing has followed me. Like it
yeah.
just followed me, closing the thing that I thought was the source of my depression didn't actually rectify anything.
Yeah, yeah. So I think once I closed my business and everything, that's where it actually mostly started. Like it was shit
Right,
and then it became
same.
even
Yeah, it
more
was like
shit.
really bad after, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
now you really fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's like what I thought would give me some relief just
Yeah.
made it even worse. Like obviously, and in hindsight, it's actually what I needed, right? But at the time, so all of these things, and you probably will resonate, all of this business stuff was just like some sort of bandage over some deeper things that were hiding under the surface. And removing the business and removing the responsibilities just allowed all of those things to surface. So
Yeah.
basically, what happened is when I got to Israel, I was with my mom, and again, this is when COVID happened and like lockdown and like everything was just like symbolically really, really, really shitty. Um, and that's when I kind of went into like a spiral of it was for about I would say a year. It was horrible. A year I would have like every single day like panic attacks, suicidal thoughts. I tried to institutionalize myself to like a hospital like about 4 times because I thought I was going crazy. Like there was like my whole body was like jumping between like almost like psychosis to I don't even know what was
So
happening.
they
Like my
wouldn't accept you in the institutions
they
or
would, but my mom always stopped me. She said like,
oh,
no, you shouldn't
okay.
go there. It's just gonna make you worse. Come back home. And then
Right.
I would listen to her and I would come back. like I wasn't actively going to take my life, but there was like passively just I was like in a very high state of suffering, like walking in through hell every single day. So the first year was horrible. I jumped between like 7, 8 therapists. Nobody could really help me. And then a year after that, it kind of got on a little bit better. And then I would say now we're in like 2025. I would say by 2023, I would say I kind of got to a more stable point. A little bit, I was still kind of not good, but I was a more stable point. And I would say only the past like 2 years is when I could say like, okay, my life is kind of good now.
Mm-hmm.
This past year has been like amazing in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like life and well-being and like groundedness. Yeah,
So that moment of chaos ultimately brought you to a space of more self-acceptance, grounded
for
peace,
sure.
all these things that you're after, and these new emotional skills, I guess, that you didn't have before. One of the
Mhm.
things that I don't regret where I've landed. I don't regret the journey that I've been on because it's what's taught me how to develop those skills. And I'm grateful for my life now, but I sometimes reflect and I think to myself, if I had had those emotional skills back then, probably didn't need to blow the business up the way that I did, probably never needed to come to that. Is that something that you ever think of?
No, because like so from one perspective, you're right. If I had these things and this understanding, and I wouldn't do that. But the way that my view of the world, I believe in karma and karmatic corrections, and depending on the school of thought, this is what my soul needed to go through to develop these skills. So yeah, if I had these skills, I wouldn't need to close the business, but it doesn't even matter at the end of the day because these like in a way closing the
They served
business.
a greater purpose. Yeah.
Exactly. It was worth sacrificing the business and the money to learn these skills.
True. Yeah. 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 So you help entrepreneurs. You were talking about how to kind of shift through trauma so they're creating from a space of flow and gratitude and all of that. So can you talk us through what that means exactly, and then also how you help people shift through their trauma?
Yeah. So there's every person obviously is unique. And the way that I operate, I'm not a psychologist or even don't consider myself a therapist. I just am someone that has went through a lot of shit and I have from my own life experiences. I can help from my own intuition. It will
Mhm.
usually look very, very different for every single person. Um, when an entrepreneur, high achiever is like I help someone in that realm, and I help many types of people. But if we're talking about specifically high achievers and entrepreneurs, most of the time, um, and not everyone, but most of the time, a lot of that, and you can probably relate to a certain extent, their success and their drive is coming from a place of pain. It's coming from a
Yeah,
place of wounding. It's coming
they're
from a place
needing
of
to prove that they are worthy.
yeah,
I make this much money or I build this business, I am worthy. See, I did it.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
coming from exactly like a pain, a specific point of like I need to validate myself. And there's nothing wrong about desires and wanting to make a lot of money and wanting to be successful and wanting to be famous, like doing all of these things. It depends on what is the intention behind it. Is it coming from play and curiosity and fun, like a little child would, like a
Hmm.
7-year-old would create a puzzle, or would it come from a place of like I have to achieve this, and if not, I am nothing.
Hmm.
Um, so I work with the pain. I work with the what is the emotion or the frequency that this desire is coming from. Is it a frequency that is in the shadow, or is it a frequency that is in the light?
Hmm.
I'm not trying to change their way of like trying to say that what they're doing is wrong. I'm trying to shift the frequency and to basically make them see or to help them because the reason I know this is because this is basically what I went through, right? So I can help them from the way that I view it. Um, if you can heal the wound without the success, then you would not operate from that place anymore. You would still want to create, but the creation would come from a place of creation and play. Um, like when I started my business, when I was like, again, I started doing business when I was like 15, but most of the time, at least like my first years, it always came from like play and curiosity. There was like a lot of like, and then like when it started to grow, it started to shift from light to kind of more shadowy, kind of like more money, more success, higher conversion rates, fame. Everything was very blinding and was very, very seductive. Um, But if I didn't feel unworthy to begin with, if I feel loved to begin with, if I felt safe and secure to begin with, then I would operate the business and I would continue operating the business from a place of safety, and I will not create this shadowy obsession to
Mm.
it. So when I help high achievers as entrepreneurs, it's usually to heal those wounds, those trauma that they operate from. First of all, for them to recognize that they're operating from this place, and to learn how to heal it and how to connect more to an energy of play and light. And how would your life look like if you actually operate from that frequency rather than from this frequency?
Hmm. Yeah, it's very similar to how I phrase things like red and green.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, if you're creating from a space of shame or guilt or frustration or overwhelm or any of those emotional reds, um, the the outward result is not going to unlock those greens that you're after. Like you have to lead the way in how you're creating if that is the outcome that you desire.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love this. You're speaking my language, by the way. This is exactly what I'm all about. One of the things I found interesting when I walked away from the company was that I didn't realize how much of my confidence was based on my success and the money and the accolades and the industry recognition. And I went through this huge, it was a very vulnerable and raw experience of like learning to value myself without, I was also in financial shambles at the time when I walked away from it all. And there was a big, strong narrative around like, well, that was it. You were a one-hit wonder. Now you're no good. You're no good to society. Like you don't have any money. You've lost it all. You're a failure, all of these things. And I guess I had to go through that loss to see just how much of my confidence was not self-sourced and it was actually based on my bank account or what who was buying or how many people were buying or what people were saying about me in the online space. Is that
Yeah.
something that you found as well?
100%. Like it was really bad. Like it was so I grew up really like not being like a popular kid, and like um the thing is that I feel like my success went from 0 to 100 very, very fast. Like I started to be in the online space when I was like, let's say 21 or like 2021. And then like a year after, I already kind of blew up. And I started like speaking in the affiliate world and all of these things. And I would base like all of my happiness on, like you said, like the money that comes in and how many people recognize me and talk about me and what do they say about me online, like you said. Like I remember I would go to conferences, I would speak at conferences, and like I speak about it with so much shame to doing this, but I understood me at the time. I would walk around like the conference and I would wait for people to recognize me and to take a picture with me. Like I would feed on that recognition. Like,
Hmm.
and if somebody didn't come to me and take a picture with me in like
Be
20
like,
minutes, I feel like, oh, I need to go somewhere where somebody will recognize me so I can feel like this validation. And
yeah.
it was like very, very sinful kind of like if we're talking about like these types of energies, like a lot of like just like ego validation. Again, I never did anything bad and I was always like empathic and honest, but there was like a strong hunger for that. And I was nothing without that. And I went through a
Well, I think
similar
it's like a
process.
dopamine hit, right? But
Yeah,
it's like a drug that you normalize so fast and you just need more and then it's never enough and it never fills the cup, you know?
exactly. Unless
Yeah.
you fill the cup yourself and you heal the void that has been there, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were going to go back in time to the 2019 version of yourself, what advice would you be giving him?
Um, mm, I guess the only thing that I would really want to know at that time, that everything is going to be okay.
Mm.
Like, I think these questions are always complicated to me because I believe that what I knew at the time is exactly what I needed to know to go through what I needed to go through. But I think in those times there was a lot of hopelessness in me. I'm
Hmm.
like, what the fuck was going on? Like, I felt like I was really lost mentally. And I think just knowing, like, look, everything is going to be okay eventually. You need to go through this. That would probably have made me feel better because it was very dark. Like I couldn't see the light. It was just very, very, very dark. Like I knew the light was there. Like
Mm-hmm.
I knew that everything is eventually going to be okay, but there was a strong force in me. I was like saying like, I don't fucking know how it's going to be okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything is just like shit right now.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess saying that to myself or knowing that like, look, in a few years, you're going to be okay and you're going to come out with out of this stronger and more conscious, more aware than ever, more confident than ever, then that would have been nice to hear.
Mm-hmm. Although it might not have listened, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Fuck you.
too
Everything is
fucking
shit.
red. It was too fucking
Yeah,
red, you know?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
like we
yeah.
suffer from amnesia. Most of us can relate to the fact that our biggest growths and transformations have come on the back of like complete oh fuck moments.
Yeah,
But then every time we encounter them, we get this like amnesia where we're like, this is different. I'm broken. Nothing's gonna work. And we forget that actually it's like part
yeah,
of the journey, you know? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So what would you tell to an entrepreneur who maybe was a client of yours, who was in a business where they were really depressed or overwhelmed or just not feeling how would you work with someone like that?
What is the situation, would you say?
Basically, they're feeling what you were feeling, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what would be the steps that you would take a client like that through?
So first of all, I think there's a few layers to this. So first of all, me being there for them and me seeing them and understanding them, I think for them is like almost 50% of the journey. Because
Mm,
like let's say when I was in my shit situation, I worked with a spiritual coach that helped me. And it wasn't even about what he told me to do, it was just him understand because he was in a similar state to where I was in. And me working with him when I was like in my very dark state and him basically giving me reassurance or like showing me like I've been where you are, that already made me feel better.
mm,
Knowing that, oh, people get out of this. Like
hmm
this kind of like what it's called, like dark night of the soul or like spiritual kind of darkness. So I would first of all I would see him, and I think that would already move him forward and a needle. And then honestly, I would just start to go deep into the emotional state and kind of break down and see what. So the type of work that I do and the modalities that I do are based. There's my own modalities, but they're taken usually from IFS and somatic experiencing. You know IFS?
No, I'm not familiar with
So
IFS.
IFS is internal family systems. It's basically parts work where you have, let's say, every one of us has a lot of parts within us that are in conflict with each other. So if let's say you have a depressed part, that part is trying to communicate something with you.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say there's a hustler part in you that needs to succeed, or as something that your parents maybe brought on you that I'm a failure if I don't do this, this, and this. But then there's this other part that is sad and doesn't want to do this. So these are two parts that are literally people in you that are talking and communicating with each other.
Mm,
In, in Jungian psychology, this will be like almost like types of like archetypes. So I go deep into the emotional state with with the client or the person, and I see what are the different parts in you that are trying to communicate and what are they saying? Like what words are they using? And
mm,
usually people will recognize that first of all, there's a few parts. It's basically like inner child work, but there's not one inner child, there's like 12.
mm,
Um, and I would hear what they are saying. And first of all, start to develop a relationship with these parts. And then the client will usually, or the person will usually start to first of all recognize what's going on in their system, which is one of the bigger major steps of understanding, oh, this is what this part needs, this is what this part needs, this is what this part needs. And then we can start to go into integration, which is understanding, first of all, what the part needs, which is like almost like the mental, intellectualizing view of it. And then there's the somatic experiencing part of it, which is actually feeling and processing the raw emotion. So what
mm-hmm.
is their grief, anger, anxiety, fear, unworthiness? Like what is that? And how does it feel in the body? What color does it have? How heavy is it? And then we start to, through communicating with the parts and feeling the emotion, there's some sort of integration that happens, because the belief is that if we heal the wounds and the darkness, then our baseline as human beings is basically love, light, understanding, and knowing. Like
Hmm.
without the wounds, we already know, we're already happy, we're already loving. We're just blocked because of these woundings. So once we integrate them through parts work, through somatic experiencing, through feeling the raw emotion, then the knowing and understanding kind of comes naturally. And there's kind of like practical layers to like, meditate, like exercise a few times a week, or like meditate and don't just like wake up and go and work. Like be with yourself, go on walks, sleep well, like the health aspect, but then like the actual reflection aspect of like make sure you don't just like wake up and go to work. Make sure you wake up and you have an hour to be with yourself and be with yourself and feel yourself. Because a big thing, and this is I think one of the lowest hanging fruit in the world or in general with entrepreneurs is we're such in a hustle mentality, like almost like a masculine type of world where people are, women and men are in a very go, go, go mentality. There's not enough time for the body to actually process emotions. Like in the past, let's say 20, 30, 100 years ago, we didn't have our phones, we didn't have entertainment to the level we have now. So the body would go through natural cycles of processing emotions. But if we wake up and we check our phone and we're on the computer all day, and then again we're on our phone, the body is never in rest. And if the body is never in rest, emotions just get more and more and more stored. And then we get to places of like overwhelm and depression. But if you literally just go for a walk for an hour without your phone, the body will start to do what it needs to do naturally. You get
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I just literally did a post on Instagram about rest and recovery and how used to suck at that in the past, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I don't think it's even just entrepreneurs, because I think
Yeah.
society measures success as productivity. So it's like if
Everyone.
you're procrastinating or if you're resting, it's seen as sloth, laziness, like a cardinal sin. And
Yeah.
people ask themselves, like, what's wrong? But like you said before, like you can with the horse with caffeine and drugs and all this stuff, but every natural cycle in the universe, macro and micro, observes a rest and recovery, especially for transformation and growth. So it's like a breath in and out, and
Yeah.
honoring that and not fighting that, which is like the mind won't agree because the mind is like, we have a to-do list, we need to be busy. But actually, what it does and what studies have shown is you're more productive when you're honoring that, right?
Yeah. And I guess we need to ask ourselves, like, what is the purpose of what we're doing? Like, why? Okay, let's say, yes, we can work more and do more if we don't rest. And like you said, we're actually going to be more productive if we rest. But let's say that's not even the case. Let's say we can still do more. What's the purpose? Because if we keep just doing more and we never allow the body to rest, like we will always attract the frequency that we operate from. Like if we operate from a place of stress and we just keep doing the things, yeah, we will get further, but we will still be in the frequency of stress. Like the to-do list will never end. So it's
Yeah.
almost like you never really make it. Like nobody really gets to a point where they made it. You can decide to make it now. Like how do I live the life that I want now, and how does that look like in terms of like work and rest?
Hmm.
Because you can always do more, but you'll always have more to do. So it's almost like I always ask myself, how can I live the life that I want today? And that's usually what's going to happen in the future. So there's not even like I don't even have a purpose. Usually I don't see even a purpose to work and be stressed about work, because that will just bring in more stress because I'm operating from that frequency. That's my belief, if
Yeah,
that makes
yeah. Yeah, I stopped doing goals for my business about a year ago because I
sense.
just realized like intention setting and goals is great. It's good to have goals, but I've discovered it's almost impossible to have a goal without emotional attachment to it.
Yeah.
Like, and then to create that external condition over your peace of mind or well-being or your sense of confidence, right? When then, so yeah, nowadays my goals is all intrinsic to me. I'm like, how can my business and I play? How can
Yeah.
my business and I get peace of mind today? And if I am forcing or coercing myself into a creation in my business, really inviting myself to take a step back and go, maybe there's another way to do this, or maybe this doesn't even need to be done right now. Like, can we
Yeah.
reinvent the rules and do it even simpler, which often works
Yeah.
10 times better, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually because you're right, at the end of the day, the goals that I set in general in my life, they always, and I think we just got into a point, maybe me and you and a lot of people, where we're just like so emotionally sensitive and energetically sensitive that our emotions and our view of the world changes very rapidly. Like my view and like what I decide today about what I want to do next week, by next week it will usually change. Like it's really hard for me to like make a decision what I want to do because maybe I don't want to do that.
Right. Like who
Like
could do a
today.
5-year business plan?
Yeah, yeah,
Commit
exactly.
to like 6 months, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now we can set an intention. Like I have an intention this year to make $10 million, whatever. It's not a like a goal is a very almost like a masculine word. Like I have a goal, and the intention is more like feminine and more like soft. Like this is the intention. The intention might change, but it's almost like I would even ask myself, what do I want to feel for my business in the next year rather than like a practical goal? Like I want to make X, Y, Z. I was like, what I want to feel for my business. How does
Right.
my business look like emotionally in a year? And then usually the goal or the intention would kind of work through that vision.
Yeah. Because like, why do you want 10 million anyways?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't, we don't actually give a shit about money. Because if they change the currency system to more to seashells, like you wouldn't care about money, you'd want seashells, or sand or whatever it is. So
yeah,
you only want 10 million because you're trying to like unlock expanded states of well-being, basically. So just cut out the middleman and give yourself that straight from the root. And when I've
exactly.
made like the big quantum money, the money that's just like fast and comes out of nowhere, I was never thinking about the money. That was never my intention or goal. In fact, it was always like a shock on the back of that. Like, fuck, I just made a lot of money doing that. But it was like, I was excited, I was
Yeah,
enthusiastic. I was in flow. I was like, everybody needs this. I was so confident,
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
the energy.
100%. And the
Yeah.
money would come from because if I have a vision, let's say, of changing the world or whatever, and I see the whole world happy and emotionally free, and the practicality is I need $100 million for that. This is like a random example. I don't even think about $100 million. I think about how will the world look better. And because the universe will align with that vision, it's like, okay, Ben needs this amount of money to do that. Let's
Yeah.
push
Yeah.
that through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the solutions are never things that you could have visualized or predicted or anticipated, and it's like 10 times better. It's like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Exactly.
is right in front of me all along.
Yeah.
It's really fun to play with life like that. And I think this conversation is really needed in the entrepreneurial space because I know, I started around the same time as you, maybe 2013, and it was a lot of like the hustle and sacrifice your weekend and do the things that need to be done to, I was constantly on my phone. I missed a lot of my kids' lives growing up. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are in that space and they're forgetting like you started a business to give you freedom. And the ultimate freedom is peace of mind. It's like peace from your own fucking mind. That's what freedom is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
why are you then going Sorry, there's a fly attacking me. It's like, why
Yeah.
are you going counter to that in overwhelm and stressing yourself and resenting your business? Because it's like the total fucking opposite of what you're trying to create, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm.
I wanted to add to that. Yeah, because it's if you tap into a frequency of peace of mind, without the business will give you the peace of mind. If you think the business and the money will give you the peace of mind, but you play from a frequency of stress, like I need to achieve peace of mind, like I will get the peace of mind eventually, you'll never get the peace of mind. Like you'll
Yeah.
always attract the frequency that you act from.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we came to the same exact realization, same timeline, and a lot of people I think are on that timeline as well. Like I've noticed a big shift as well in the last few years. So I think it's a very needed conversation. And people are just like, yeah, never learned emotional skills. What the fuck am I doing? I'm so stressed and this might be useful for me to figure out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think these are like I think these are universal truths that that once we kind of heal the parts of ourselves, we kind of know that this is the truth. there's a really nice concept that you know, spiral dynamics. Have you ever heard of that school of
No.
thought? It's a school of thought that basically talks about like human evolution and like conscious human evolution. There's like 7 stages, and it's individual and as a society. And in a way, we kind of need to go through this hustle, like what we went through to get to where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's like stages in human, almost like the ego development or human development, where like we had to go through the hustle mentality and like to push, push, push to understand like, oh, this is not the way. But it's
Yeah.
almost part of the equation, you know, so we can evolve. And people are now evolving.
Yeah.
And eventually there's like another layer of like, because let's say I could still be obsessed. I don't like the word obsessed, but I can still work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week if I'm having fun. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
still, like, it's coming from a place of fun and curiosity, and I like stress and like I'm burning myself out. Right? It's all about like attention, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think any growth, any transformation, my personal belief cannot occur without chaos, the duality.
Yeah,
You cannot have the voice of play without the voice of fear. Like
yeah,
they are the same, just polar opposites. And
um,
the emotional reds, the chaos, that duality is the bounce pad. So that's why you could never get a life, or you would never even want a life where you never experience sadness or, um, overwhelm ever again in your life, because that would mean that you have literally stagnated, that there's nothing there for you, because
yeah,
every growth, every unknown, you're gonna shit your pants scared out of your mind. Like that doesn't stop even if you're making 1 million, 10 million, 100 million,
yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah. I think that was a big relief for me too, is like I was at war with depression. I saw it as like a monster, like
Yeah,
a curse, like something wrong. Now I'm like, oh, this is a communication and it's actually like super valuable.
yeah.
And I allow it to exist, which possibly not ironically releases a lot of the suffering around the experience of it.
Yeah, because what is depression? It's to depress something. If you communicate with it and you don't depress it, it's no longer depression.
Right.
Labels are very like problematic as well because of so much like societal conditioning of like label of depression is something bad, where
Right,
it's
like it's
just a
an
term.
illness, right? It's
Yeah,
a mental
exactly.
illness in our
Yeah,
society, which is literally saying, get rid of
yeah,
it. There's something
right.
wrong with you.
Yeah, like what is the like? I'm depressed like a few times a month. Like I got into depression, but I don't see it as something bad. I'm like, oh, my body is asking for rest. My body is
Yeah.
asking to be sad now. Like the winter to the summer to the spring, it only becomes bad if I resist it and I try to chase the summer. But if I allow the winter,
Yeah.
then winter eventually turns into summer.
Same thing with rest. Like rest and recovery actually isn't all that bad. The suffering of that experience is the your mind telling you you're being lazy, you're doing
Yeah,
something wrong, you're not connected from your spark, you're broken. And then the whole experience becomes this shit show that feels horrible when really rest and recovery itself is not nearly as,
yeah.
you know?
And then another layer is like the mind that's saying like you're lazy, you're not this, you're not that, like you shouldn't recover, loving even those words and loving the mind saying those things, because that as well, like from a part's perspective, is a part that wants to protect you and it
Mhm.
wants the best for you. So when it's saying like you're lazy, it's not an evil part. It's like he wants you to succeed because it believes that you shouldn't be lazy. But then if we show that part love, like we show all of our parts love, the parts that curse us or the parts that want to die or the parts that call us lazy, and we tell them thank you and we give them love, then suddenly the inner conversation shifts.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. So, Ben, if people are trying to get into your world, where can they find you, or where should they head to?
Honestly, just Instagram, you can just search my name. The handle is it's Ben Malol, ITS Ben Malol.
I'll
And
put it in the show notes as well. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. And they can just contact me if they want, if they feel like they want to communicate with me or anything.
What is the plant medicine that you like to work with the most?
Um, So I say plant medicine, but it's not even a plant. Like I've done work with plant medicine, like mushrooms, but usually I work with MDMA. So it's not really
Okay.
plant medicine; it's more medicine.
Yeah.
Uh, I went through a phase of I think the past couple of years of using a lot of MDMA like in a therapeutic setting for myself and for people around me.
Hmm.
Um, it's usually something though that I will do with people that are more closer to me rather than like a random client. But MDMA has, out of all the things that I've done to heal kind of deep trauma, it's been very, very, very powerful.
Yeah. I had a girlfriend of mine, a Colombian, who was super against drugs her whole life because she didn't want to be the Colombian stereotype, but was never like super happy. And then she tried MDMA for the first time and she was like, I feel love for the first time in my life. And
It's a great drug, honestly. It's a
it's a
great fucking
great drug. And thank God it comes with a come down. Otherwise, I would be totally addicted to it.
yeah, yeah. It has its
Most of the
sacrifice.
planet would, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, give me some love, that love
yeah.
or
Give me
whatever.
some of that love. Give me more of that
Yeah.
love.
I love it. Awesome. So thank you so much, Ben, for joining me on this episode of the Flow Protocols. If you guys would like to check Ben out, you can click the show notes below. For his Instagram, it's Ben Malol. And I hope this has served you well. Let us know. Send me a message if it did. And I will see you guys on the next one.